Okay, so Shadowlands is now only a few weeks away, and people are starting to get on board with how they should be making gold in Shadowlands, getting to grips with the new professions, the new farming zones, all that good stuff. But with only a few people having access to the beta, lots of people are left with the question, well, how should I be making gold once we get into Shadowlands? And unfortunately, the answer is not always the same for everybody. It's kind of unique to each player. So this discussion came up on the stream today after somebody was asking about the new nerfs that are sort of being introduced to the old raw gold farms, mainly due to the level squish. So we decided to sort of dive deeper into this a little bit and put together sort of like a roadmap, if you will, for those players out there that are looking to become rich once Shadowlands goes live. So please enjoy the video. I hope it will help at least a select few of you to bring you a little bit more clarity on how you can make gold going into Shadowlands. So please like the video if it's useful for you, even consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Okay, well there's one thing I do want to talk about today in some detail, and it's not going to be a rant. I promise it's not going to be a rant. It's more of a small frustration that is kind of getting a little bit out of hand. Raw gold farming. People are losing their absolute fucking minds. These raw gold farms are being nerfed. Now, being nerfed, oh no, I can't run Skyreach 500 times in a week. What am I going to do for gold now? This is turning into a rant, isn't it? Oh dear. But realistically, raw gold farming is going to be completely donezo for 18 months or so, realistically. So let's think about ways to make gold in WoW. You think about how many different ways there actually are. You've got like, there are easily 10 to 15 different ways you can make gold. So you've got professions, transmog, selling, or should I say just flipping. And then in that you have like flipping pets, flipping materials, what I mean, you've got flipping BOEs. There's a whole different things you can sort of buy and flip quite easily. Gathering. I was thinking about this in a little bit more detail, and I was thinking how there's a scale of making gold in World of Warcraft, and I think people sit at different levels. Raw gold is easy to do and track. Yeah, this is it, and this brings me to one big thing about making gold in WoW. It's risk. It's the same as in real life. Is that where there is risk, there is reward. And where there is no risk, there is generally less reward. And the more risky the method of making gold, the more potential gold you can make from it. And I think this is why raw gold farming has become like crazy popular, because there is absolutely no risk involved. You can do it solo. You don't have to go anywhere near an auction house. It's easily trackable. And it's very, very reliable. There's like zero risk involved in raw gold farming, but it's bonkers to considering we're going to go into a new expansion now, and all of a sudden all of these alternative and arguably slightly riskier ways of making gold all of a sudden come into play, and people should really be focusing on those aspects more so than worrying about running Skyreach 500 times. And so to build on this theory a little bit, I wanted to sort of try and put together some sort of like a roadmap for people. And I think there's two aspects to consider. And I think those two aspects are, or is there maybe three? There's maybe three, because you've got time, you've got risk, and you've got investment. So maybe it's actually 3 aspects to consider. So say for example, you're that brand new character. You've maybe got 1 or 2 max level characters, maybe your main and an alt. You've got a little bit of gold available to you, but the new expansion's coming out and you're wondering what to do. Well, you're probably going to fit in the category of you've got good time, you want little risk, and you want small investment. If that's sort of a good time, let's say, let's just say free time. Free time, you want little risk, and you only want to invest a small amount. Then you are absolutely going to fall into the category of gathering, e.g. herbing, mining. You're going to fall into the category, more than likely, ultimately, raw gold farming. I can't type today. You can tell it's Monday, can't you? What else would you you've got a lot of free time. You may look at transmog, for example. Transmog requires quite a lot of time to go out and farm. There's very little risk to it, but there is sometimes a big reward if you get that massive, great big like BOE epic to drop or something like that. Then you've got some real good results you can get there. It's a little bit more risky because you've got to play with the auction house and then consider auction house listing fees and that sort of stuff, but it's still only little risk. And investment wise, you are literally only trading in your time. So I'd say these are if you fall into the category of a reasonable amount of free time, little risk, small, you only want that small investment, then these are really what you should be going for. People I'd say this is really suitable for new players and sub 100k gold. That really seems to be, at least to me, some sort of a logical position to sit at. People who are new to the game, they don't know what like. For example, I've been playing the game for since the very end of vanilla, early Burning Crusade, and I can see almost any item in the game, and I can tell you what expansion it's from, roughly what it's used for, and if it's valuable. But I've developed that sort of knowledge over 10, 15 years, however long it is. If you're a new player to the game and you don't know all of that business, you need to know that, right, well, if I pick up mining, if I pick up herbalism, I can go out and I can mine some stuff and I can pick up some more herbs. And if I put it on the auction house, they're going to sell pretty quickly. I'm going to get my gold. It's not too difficult. And I don't have to invest any of my gold I've already made into doing it. So it's going to be a good way to get that first 100k gold. But what do you reckon you should then do when you hit 100k gold? Do we think that continuing to do these methods is the best thing for you to be doing? Or should you be looking to progress your skills somewhat? If you were to look at doing something with slightly more risk or requiring you to invest in it a little bit more, are you going to get more rewards out of it? And the answer is quite probably yes. So if you're then falling into a category where you've still got free time, whether it be you're not in the adult world with kids and full-time jobs and that sort of stuff, and you've got free time to play the game, then you've got that plenty of free time to invest. Cool. You're happy to take a small risk, and you still want to make only a small investment, but medium investment. You're not object to the fact that you might have to spend some of your own gold to then make more gold. So if you were to fall into this category, I would say you're then probably I hate to use the word casual, novice player. And I'd say then you're probably at the point where you've got between 100k and your first mil. If you fall into these two categories, then there are then all of a sudden gathering and herbing, then yes, you've got the free time, but what if you could do something to make a little bit more gold quicker, and then with the rest of your free time, if you wish, you could go out and do some gathering. So this is where I think things like professions come in. Your professions are going to be really good for you then. You can then take a crafting profession, for example, and decide that, well, there's a smaller risk involved because you have to level up that profession to begin with. There's a small investment required because you need to actually buy the materials to craft the items, and you need a little bit more knowledge of how to sell them on the auction house. But the rewards for you can be dramatically more substantial. You're gonna be able to pull hundreds of thousands of gold, assuming you can get the materials at the right price, and you're applying a little bit more strategy. But the advantage is it takes you considerably less time to do it. So then you've got two options. Once you've taken that small risk with some of your capital, should we say, to use technical terms, as soon as you've done that, if you wish to, then you can go out and do some gathering. You can go and do some transmog farming, so that you kind of double dip. You get the best of both worlds then. There's also the argument that flipping or auction house play falls into this category. The fact that you're willing to spend a little bit by buying some items off the auction house with the potential thought process to sell them for more. Now this requires very little in terms of time investment, but there's more risk and you have to obviously spend some of your gold to start with. Then, where it gets really fun is when you look at the kind of people that have only short time to play, but they're happy to take big risks. Happy to take big risks, and I wish I could use my keyboard, and they're willing to invest heavy. This is your sort of long time or sort of pro players. And now I'm not meaning pro in terms of that you're 3100 arena rating and going to tournaments. I'm just talking about people that have a lot of knowledge about the game already. They've played through multiple expansions. They've seen the game develop over the years. They know what the items are and what value there is in certain items. And they've just generally got a lot more experience within the game. Now these players are going to be the ones that are sort of hunting for their first sort of 5 to 10 mil. So these are the people that are almost at the point where they're gold capped on a single character. So this is why they're able to invest heavy, because they have more capital and there's less for them to lose by doing so. So they're happy to take big risks. And this is where, like I said, this is where it gets really fun, because these guys get some really interesting ways to make gold available to them. This then becomes sort of pet and mount flipping. What I would also sort of call exotic arbitrage, but I can't spell it to save my life, so we'll just say flipping as well. Now, exotic flipping is not necessarily just pets and mounts, but it's anything that is super high value in game. We're talking like items that are worth 250,000 gold. Those really, really rare items. You could almost say raid BOE flipping. Raid BOE flipping fits. Oh my days, I can't flip. Raid BOE flipping fits in this category as well quite nicely. Simply because you actually need to make a very heavy investment usually. If you're trying to buy the very best BOEs off the auction house, the highest item level ones, the ones that are, firstly, they're going to be rare because they're primarily from the hardest difficulty mode, being mythic. Those mythic BOE raid drops, as we've seen, can easily go for 100,000 gold a piece, upwards into the millions if they're perfectly itemized. So you're firstly going to have to spend a lot of your gold to buy that item in the first place, with no guarantee that you're going to be able to sell it for more than what you bought it for. The risk is larger simply on the basis that every 3 to 6 months, it feels, we have a brand new raid and the item level increases across the board, which then means that if you buy that item and you don't sell it before the next raid comes out, you've almost instantly made a loss, because then that item is then going to not be as valuable. The reason that item is worth what it's worth is because it's one of the best items in the game. When Blizzard releases better items, then the worth of that initial item is naturally going to reduce very, very quickly. So you need the knowledge then on how to quickly flip and to quickly make your profits while still investing a boatload of gold. So these are more risky things. But this is why I think when people ask what is the best way to make gold in World of Warcraft, there's no exact answer, and every single character is going to be at a different stage. Now, the raw gold farming, yes, for some people is really, really valuable. But realistically, it's going to be your new players and people that are under about 100k gold. They need that little bit of gold in their back pockets, maybe to fund their raiding, fund their Mythic Plus, whatever they actually enjoy doing. But then they need to have that little bit of gold to be able to reinvest in some slightly more risky areas of making gold. People that go heavy crafting on professions throughout an expansion make a lot of gold very quickly. But then equally does come a point, if people who go heavy on professions end up making 4 million gold in the first few weeks of Shadowlands, for example, then realistically their desire to continue crafting those professions should be quite limited. They should then be stepping up and doing some of the big flipping, throwing their gold that they've made back into bigger investments, which will ultimately only pay off bigger. And people that are savvy with this will see that different aspects are more advantageous at different times in the expansion. At the very beginning of an expansion, you have a lot of new players to the game, meaning there are a lot of people herbing and gathering, meaning there is a lot of transmog going to be flooded on the auction house. During the middle of an expansion, it's usually where professions sort of balance out and are considered nice, steady income. And the flipping in the auction house play becomes really advantageous because you can buy stuff, and if you know that there's a good amount of people out there that want it, you can buy a whole bunch of things off the auction house when you see them being listed cheaply. And you know that, well, say for example, if I buy a whole bunch of materials on a Wednesday, I can then post them on a Saturday, almost instantly sell them, but sell them for more because there's more people playing. Just little bits like that where you can really sort of expand your gold really quickly. And it's at the end of an expansion, and arguably all through an expansion, where these long-time pro players who are willing to spend big bucks doing the considerably more risky methods of making gold can continuously make gold. There are people out there that have guild banks full of trading card game mounts. They've got 4 or 5 Spectral Tigers on 4 or 5 different servers, all listed for gold cap at any one time, because over time they've built up their capital and have invested back into buying items that they know they will eventually be able to sell for more. So when people come and they say, what is the best way to make gold in World of Warcraft? There isn't one answer, but I hope this sort of puts you in the mindset a little bit more of what you maybe should be doing once we hit Shadowlands.